more walk-ins allowed. The city of Manila changes its policy on vaccine rollout, following criticisms and warnings that its vaccination drives might become super spreaders. The Philippines is set to receive 40 million doses of Pfizer's COVID-19 shots. The World Health Organization warns the more infectious Delta variant is becoming the world's most dominant variant of COVID-19. And because of this, travel restrictions on certain countries with a high number of Delta variant cases are extended until the end of the month. And still undefeated, Gilas Pilipinas scores another win against South Korea in the FIBA Asia Cup Qualifiers. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. Kicking off today's newscast with the city government of Manila scrapping its walk-in system to make its vaccination safer and more efficient for residents. Camille Samonte with the story.
As Manila City continues to roll out COVID-19 vaccines, some residents are calling on the LGU to implement a more efficient vaccination system. These after hundreds of residents lined up for more than 8 hours to get their vaccines in Tondo, Manila. Some residents even had to line up twice after missing the cut last Friday.
Halos ginugol na nga namin to yung isang araw namin eh. Para lang matapos eh. Biruin mo, hindi nga kami nagkasakit sa COVID. Nagkasakit kami sa init. Oh, paano na lang kami?
They also complained of the queuing system as there are some residents who were caught jumping the line.
Dapat yung number talaga, yung talagang sundi ko, magbigay ng number, dapat number lang talaga. Huwag sila magpasok na walang number kasi kagulo niyan. Sabi may kahit walang number, nakakapasok.
Some senior citizens have also complained that they were not given priority and still had to queue for long hours. They are requesting to have a separate vaccine schedule allotted only for senior citizens and persons with disability.
Puro senior na lang muna para hindi naman kami hirap. Kasi nakapila na kami, nakatayo, nangangawit ako.
Around 1,000 doses of Pfizer vaccines were allocated in Emilio Jacinto Elementary School, but more than 1,000 residents lined up as early as 3 in the morning. The LGU previously implemented a first-come, first-served system, meaning that anyone can take their chance at the inoculation sites. The long lines have been a concern for the public as this could be possible super spreader events.
Minsan kasi siyempre may mga hindi namin nababantayan na kasi lahat eh. Siyempre, concentrated kami sa mga bakuna. May mga guards naman tayo dyan, may mga pulis naman po. Sila na po ang bahala po doon.
After several complaints on the vaccination queue, the city government finally made a modification. Walk-ins will not be allowed in any vaccination sites. Only those who will receive a text message via Manila COVAX SMS will be entertained. The LGU will vaccinate members of the A2 and A4 priority groups in 4 mall sites with 2,500 doses each. Likewise, members of the A1, A2, A3, and A5 priority groups will receive their COVID-19 vaccines in 18 community sites with 1,000 doses each. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
The Philippines and U.S. drug maker Pfizer BioNTech have inked a supply agreement for 40 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. According to vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr., this is the largest volume procured by the government this year, most of which will arrive in about 2 months. Galvez adds that this was funded through a multilateral arrangement with the Asian Development Bank, saying that this will ensure the transparency of the procurement process. Galvez called on local government units to prepare cold storage facilities for the Pfizer BioNTech vaccines with temperature requirements of -80 to -60 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, 44 million dozen vaccines are expected to arrive in the country from COVAX facilities while negotiations continue for 16 million doses from Novavax and Johnson & Johnson. The national government is seeing an upward trajectory in vaccinations across all priority groups. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. says this is a good sign that vaccine hesitancy is being addressed and more Filipinos are now willing to get inoculated. Galvez added that the country recorded its highest daily vaccination rate last June 15, when it administered almost 323,000 shots in a single day. The official also vowed to sustain this momentum as they expect a steady supply of vaccines to arrive in the coming weeks and months. A team of 3 Israeli medical experts arrived in the country yesterday to assist with the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said doctors Abraham Ben-Zaken, Adam Nicholas Siegel, and Daphne Siegel are expected to help improve the Philippines program by sharing their technical expertise on vaccination. The team will discuss strategies to deploy highly sensitive vaccines, such as the Pfizer BioNTech shots, and they will also guide the country's gradual transition to a more relaxed quarantine restriction. Israel is considered a world leader in vaccinations, with about 59% of its population already fully vaccinated. Health experts will be in the country until June 25. The Octa Research Group sounds the alarm on the possible impact of COVID-19 spreading to provinces outside the metro to their hospital capacity. In an interview over the weekend, Octa's Guido David said that the rise in cases in the province is likely due to social mobility from hotspot areas. David said this is a concern because hospital utilization is nearing or has already exceeded 70% in some areas like Davao City, Iloilo City, Bacolod, and Dumaguete. The expert also warned that an India-like situation may be looming in some areas, if the COVID-19 response in the provinces do not improve.
Definitely, they could probably scale up their contact tracing because it will prevent a lot of secondary transmissions. They could also increase hospital capacity, and we have seen that some LGUs in the provinces have already increased their hospital capacity. And aside from that, they could of course increase testing. What we have seen is that a lot of the LGUs in the provinces have very high positivity rates, and that means that they need additional testing, or they could probably do what happened in NCR, that they could augment testing with antigen testing.
The Delta variant, first detected in India, is becoming the dominant variant of COVID-19 across the globe. The WHO says the uptrend in cases worldwide is caused by the variant's significantly increased transmissibility. However, the organization needs more data to determine the effectiveness of existing vaccines against the variant. In the United Kingdom alone, nearly all of new COVID-19 cases over the past 7 days were caused by the Delta variant.
The whole situation is so dynamic because of the variants that are now circulating, and as you said, the Delta variant is well on its way to becoming the dominant variant globally because of its significantly increased transmissibility.
The WHO also notes that Africa remains an area of concern, despite only accounting for 5% of new global infections and 2% of deaths. This as new cases in some countries in the continent have doubled over the past week.
But the brutal reality is that in an era of multiple variants, with increased transmissibility, potentially increased impact, we have left vast swathes of the population and the vulnerable population in Africa unprotected by vaccines, in a context where health systems are already weak. That's the reality. And this is the consequence of the current unfair distribution of vaccines.
The travel ban on several Asian countries have been extended until the end of the month. Travel restrictions to passengers coming from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, the UAE, and Oman have been extended to prevent the Delta variant from reaching the country. However, PALA spokesperson Harry Roque clarified that some Filipinos are exempted from this rule. These include Filipinos covered by repatriation programs and recruitment agencies cleared by the Bureau of Quarantine, although these will be subject to testing and quarantine protocols upon arrival. Gilas Pilipinas defeats longtime rival South Korea for the second time, wrapping up the FIBA Asia Cup Qualifiers undefeated with a 6-0 record in Group A. Lino shares more in this story.
Gilas Pilipinas caught fire from downtown beating Korea in its own game and stayed steady in the clutch to emerge victorious against their arch rivals 82-77. That win cemented a sweep of the 2021 FIBA Asia Cup Qualifiers in Angeles City, Pampanga. South Korea got off to a hot 9-0 start, but could not maintain the advantage as Gilas Pilipinas took charge in the second quarter, outscoring Korea 20-14 and holding them to just 5 of 12 from the field to enjoy a 38-34 lead at halftime.
I thought we did a great job in the first half and really set the tone that we were going to be a competitive team throughout the game.
SJ Belangel, whose buzzer-beating three-pointer won the first game against South Korea, outsmarted the Koreans once again. He drew an unsportsmanlike foul off an inbound in the last 25 seconds of the contest, leading to a split from the free throw line, 80-77, and another possession for Gilas Pilipinas. Dwight Ramos, who wanted to prove that the first win against the Pinoy's arch rivals was no fluke, drew a foul and split his charities, but secured the offensive rebound, not allowing the Koreans to make a comeback. It was the 22-year-old Philam who started the fire for the young squad, as he went 5 of 9 from distance to finish with 19 points, along with 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals.
It felt good to win, but I mean, really, the main thing about the game was that we would learn from it and we would get experience from it. It was a little personal. We want to show that we can hang with the big dogs like Korea.
While RJ Barrientos, Kai Soto, and Jordan Heading chipped in 10 points apiece. Gilas made 14 triples out of 37 attempts, 4 more than Korea's 10 for 35, had an overwhelming advantage in points scored off turnovers, 19 to South Korea's 5, and held Korea to 3 fast break points.
I think that tells a story that that's a pretty good formula for beating a South Korea team when you...
And Dominican Republic on June 30 and July 1. But before that, they hope to have a practice game against China, who is also staying in the country before flying to Canada for more preparations for themselves.
I don't think that our results here are going to help us too much when we get there. I expect it's going to be great lessons for our players, and but you know, I know that our players are going to go there and fight, and that's what we have to do.
For News 5, Lynn Olivario, We Are One News.
And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us again later at 10 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.